Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Levinson and Associates training webinar series. So, as you know, we pick one hot topic of the week and invite a carrier, VP, life coach, all the above. Basically, anyone that can help our agents make more sales and help their clients. We are all in, as you know. So, here we are once again. We actually have a double header this week. So we have today, we're focused on disability sales. And then tomorrow, we're rolling out a brand new guaranteed issue product with an immediate death benefit to $100,000. So great stuff for both days. I'm most excited about today's presentation. The reasons why: number one, we were just talking offline, and, you look at the last 18 months, here we are in the middle of this pandemic. Hopefully it's over sooner than later, right, with all of these vaccines. And, we are on the life annuity side and supplemental product side, we are up almost 20%, let's say over 2018 and for the most part, 2019 as well. And the disability side, yes, it always does well, but there's so much more potential on that side. And here's why. Here's what makes me think about all of this. Final expense sales for us up about 35%, IUL sales up about 17%. And a lot of agents, are so focused in their niche, which is obviously important. That's your bread and butter. But when it comes to disability, sometimes what it comes down to is just asking the question, right? And I'm going to give you a quick example. And this is what led us to invite Bob on today, who's our disability pro. So we had an agent, in fact, he's on the webinar right now, that is focused on mortgage protection, final expense, retirement planning with IULs and whole life and, all the above, right? And he goes to his doctor's appointment, knows this doctor for many years, and, he's getting examined or, whatever the case is. I don't want to get real personal. And he says to his doctor, I've been a patient with you for many years, right? More or less a client, right? Customer, if you will. And I'm in the insurance business, and you should look at some insurance products and coverage for yourself, right? We work together. It's networking. So anyway, the doctor says, sure, what do you offer? And he said, life insurance, retirement plan. Oh, I'm all set. And disability coverage came up. Right? And he said, you know what? I've been looking into different policies. If you wouldn't mind, send me a quote. Let me take a look. Okay. So we worked with Bob and his team, right? A principal. And next thing you know, long story short, he made the sale to his doctor, who he's known for years, but he was just guilty of not bringing this up earlier, right? Until just a couple months ago. So it turns out the premium was over $10,000 a year. His doctor was so happy. Obviously, he's very happy. He just made a huge commission, plus a huge renewal stream, right? Which a lot of life insurance agents aren't used to, especially these days. So anyway, the point is, I thought about this, and I met with Joe, and we said, God, if more agents, just got this message and knew enough to be dangerous, right, and still focus on your day-to-day business and, do what you're great at, obviously. But when you have these prospects on the phone, right, or you're hosting a webinar, whatever the case is, bring up the question. It's very simple. Okay. And I know years ago you'd say to yourself, oh, I don't even want to get involved with disability. We have to do exams, and the underwriting takes, a month or 2 or 3. And, I'm not familiar with the different job classes. So we kind of steered away from it. But now here we have the top disability company in the industry, hands down, A+ rated, and they go up to $10,000 of monthly benefit, non-med, with an electronic application you can sell over the phone. So it's not a difficult sale anymore, and you all need to bring this up. And let me tell you, the renewal streams, you're building an annuity for yourself. The renewal streams are insane. And I'm going to give you another example. So we typically host these monthly Bill Levinson Experience podcasts, right? And they're more or less like 1 hour interviews or sit downs with our top agents and industry influencers, etc. So I handpicked 3, right? And by the way, we're gonna show you who they are at the end, but I handpicked 3 of our top MDRT agents. And guess what? All 3 said, oh, yeah, I think they said half their sales were, life insurance related, which is great. And all 3 said this, half their sales were 100%. So 50% of their sales were based on disability premium. Okay, so these are very, very sharp agents. And when you hear the podcast, I think you'll agree with me, but they all 3 said the same thing. In fact, I met with Joe before we put the slides together for today, and we were talking about it, and we're like, oh my gosh, you're right. All 3 said half of their business or close to that are from disability sales. Okay, and 1 works with just, doctors, physicians. So anyway, there's a reason why, right? So just think about this as we're going through the presentation. And another no-brainer, very black and white, if you think about it like this, you're talking to these prospects, and it doesn't matter if it's, lower to middle America, upper to middle, that doesn't make a difference. If you're speaking to let's say a breadwinner, okay, and it doesn't really matter if it's the mother, the father, breadwinner of the family, okay? And obviously they wouldn't drive a car with no auto insurance, right? And they have 2 children, right? They wouldn't run the household with no life insurance, right? We know how that goes. But when you think about this, if mommy or daddy, let's say the breadwinner in this case, okay, if they get injured and they can't perform their, let's say, 40-hour-a-week typical work week, how are they going to pay for the automobile insurance or the life insurance premium if they can't work anymore? Okay, so the DI is what should drive the rest of the policies or the premium. God forbid there's an injury and the person can't work any longer for a certain amount of time. Okay, so this is how you need to bring this up to your clients. Okay, and it's common sense. This isn't rocket science here. So anyway, I can't stress it enough. We have the top white collar DI carrier, literally in the industry, okay, who's on with us today. And Bob is the local disability professional. He's been at our expo. So if you were at the Levinson Expo pre-COVID, okay, I'm sure you met Bob or heard him speak. He's one of our top speakers that comes just about every year. So he knows this side of the business as good or better than anyone that I've met, okay? And I'm not just saying this because he's on with us today, okay? Okay, let's jump right in. A couple new things here at Levinson, and then I'm going to turn the microphone over to Bob. So real quick, Levinson social media contest. This is very, very simple, just a no-brainer. And this is also a good way to keep your finger on the pulse on what's going on here at the Levinson home office. Okay, bunch of incentives, which everybody wants to be a part of. Oh, speaking of incentives, we're going to do a question of the day when we are finished, when Bob's done speaking. So in about right before 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're giving away the famous disability book called The Napkin Advisor, plus the Amazon Echo, which I have a whole shipment that just came in. So I'm going to pick whoever answers the question first. I'll announce their name at the end, and you are a winner. And that's it. We'll mail these out today, this afternoon. Okay. Now, you do have to be active with Levinson. Okay. Okay. So real quick on the Facebook or social media contest. So all you have to do is follow us on 2 of the 4 platforms. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at least 2 of those, okay? Like the post, share a comment, write an app, win. First 3 agents, $250 Amazon gift card. And what we're going to do, we already had 1 winner, so we have 2 left, okay? So as soon as we hang up with today's webinar, we're going to send a thank you email to everyone, and we're going to include all 4 links. So all you have to do is click like, share a comment, write your app, done. You're a winner, okay? So the first one is already won, so we have 2 left. Make sure that you like the pages and comment. Plus, once you like the pages, you're going to be in the loop with all of our latest incentives and webinars and everything else. On the bottom, this is what I'm most excited about. This is brand new. It's a first ever, and here's why. So it's a new lead program that we're rolling out in about a week to 10 days. Here's what's interesting, okay? We have now term life leads up to $1 million of death benefit. $17 a lead with a minimum order of 15. Here's the best part, 20% guarantee. If you don't sell 20% of each batch, they will replace the leads at no expense to you until you hit that number. No small print here, folks. Okay, final expense, live transfers, and then just typical callback leads, 100% exclusive, starting at just $12, minimum order of 15. You place the order, you pick the state, 5-day turnaround time. And by the way, obviously we're talking about DI on today's call, but if you're working these term life leads, for example, all it takes is a pivot, ask the question, boom, you're done. Okay, could be a life and a disability sale. So we know, in fact, we wrote one of our largest cases ever by Kent from Texas, from one of our lead programs. It was a mortgage protection lead, and he turned it into a monster IUL sale. It happened actually when he was at our expo. He was literally faxing applications through the hotel lobby there. I'll never forget that day. So anyway, the opportunities are there. You just have to pivot, right, and change direction and ask the right questions and let the prospect do the talking, right? Very basic. Okay, right side, Levinson annuity incentives. So this is very simple. SILAC on the indexed annuity side, they are crushing it right now with rates and very high comp. So very simple. You write a SILAC indexed annuity this month, $250 Amazon gift card, or a free batch of our annuity exclusive leads. You get to pick, okay? And if you want more info, ask for Josh or Ashley. We'll get you everything you need to get up and running. Okay, without further ado, I want to jump into our feature presentation by Mr. Bob Herman, our local DI Pro. Bob, you there?
I sure am.
Okay, thank you. Good stuff. There we go.
Bill, those are some great, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Bill, those are some great comments, and thank you both to you and Joe for inviting me today. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you folks. I think, in regards to our short time together today, I want to address a few things. Most of these are going to be geared towards sales ideas that will allow you to go tomorrow, today, this afternoon, tonight, to sit down with a client and hopefully feel comfortable to have this conversation in regards to income protection. I think some of the things I want to, just so you're aware of the topics that I want to discuss, kind of an overview of what is disability insurance. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Who needs this stuff? The 4 things our clients typically want to know about income protection. I want to talk about the group LTD that's out there for some of our clients and why we supplement these types of benefits through their employers. And then also to give you a bit of an understanding of the product itself, just the foundation of the contract. If you understand some of this, the foundation, it allows you to have the confidence to go have these conversations with your clients. And then we're going to address some of the underwriting issues that we may contend with. But again, most of the stuff that I'm going to focus on is some sales ideas. As far as the foundation of disability insurance is concerned, or I should say the foundation of any financial plan, it always revolves around somebody's ability to generate income so they can achieve their dreams and goals that they're hoping to achieve in their lifetime. Whether it's a retirement goal, making sure their kids get to college, a bigger house, whatever it might be. That income drives everything in our world. And the foundation of any financial plan is to make sure that we protect that source of income. So as Bill had mentioned earlier in his beginning comments, I think it's important, sales idea number 1, that we set expectations with our clients right from the beginning. And the easiest way to do that is to simply tell your clients, I work with all of my clients in 3 areas. Number 1, in the event they live too long. And I know for some of you who do some investments, that comes into play, annuities, things of that nature. Number two, in the event they die too soon, we want to make sure their loved ones are taken care of. And number three, what happens if they get sick or hurt somewhere along the way? So in the event they live too long, die too soon, or become sick or hurt, those are the areas that I help my clients. You want to have that conversation from the very beginning. It's not a surprise then when you bring this topic up as you go through your presentation. They know it's coming. You've already addressed it, that these are the three things that you're going to do. It also gives you the track to run on. It makes sure that I'm checking off the list here. These are the things that I want to make sure that I address with each and every client. And from our client standpoint, we just want them to understand that this is a product that provides benefits so they can meet their monthly expenses in the event that they were ever faced with an illness or an injury. We all take for granted our health. We all take for granted that we have the ability to get up each and every day and go to work. Again, we take it for granted, but these things can occur, overnight, or I would say we're one doctor visit away from being uninsurable too. But we want to make sure that we have a plan in place because disabilities happen tomorrow. And the question for your clients is, are they ready? We just want to make sure they're ready. And our job with any of our clients is just to give them the opportunity to say yes, right? We want to put them in a better position today than they were yesterday. That's our goal. Who needs income protection? I've been doing this a long time. I've been marketing individual disability insurance for 30 years now. And I would tell you that, a lot of brokers and advisors that I call on will say, Bob, I don't sell disability insurance. I don't call on doctors or I don't call on attorneys. That's not the only market for this stuff. Let me tell you, we sell a lot of disability insurance. Granted, we sell a lot in the medical marketplace, but everybody and their brother that gets up every day and goes to work is a prospect for disability insurance. Sales idea number two. One of the easiest ways to get into this topic is asking three simple questions. Number one, tell me why you went to work today. When you're sitting down with a client, just ask that question. Tell me why you went to work today. And then just shut up. Wait for their response. Ultimately, our clients are going to tell us at one point in time, well, gee whiz, I need the money. I got obligations. I got bills to pay. Okay. Question number two, what would happen if you became sick or hurt yesterday and you couldn't work for the next 6 months or let's say for the next year? How do you meet the obligations that you're faced with? And then wait for the response. Number three, as good advisors do, and you guys are the professionals, is the last question we want to ask is, what benefits do you have in place currently that you can rely on, that you can meet those obligations that you're faced with? Now, they may have something, they may not have anything, but it's a simple way to get into this conversation. Why'd you go to work today? What would happen if you became sick or hurt yesterday and couldn't work for the next 6 months or next year? Don't make it forever. Nobody thinks they're going to be out forever. Give it a short time frame, because let me tell you, we all know with this impact that we've gone through with the pandemic, when this thing first started back in March of last year, we saw people standing in line after a couple of weeks, right, for food. So for a lot of people, they live paycheck to paycheck, and this stuff is important. As far as our clients, what do they want to know? I go on a lot of joint calls with a lot of advisors, or I get on the phone with them. Hey, Bob, can you tag along? Happy to. There's 4 things our clients typically want to know about disability insurance. How much can I get? When does it start? How long does it last? And most importantly, how much does it cost? Now, I think Bill referenced this earlier also, is don't make it complicated. It's not, you could make it as simple as you want or as complicated as you want. Take the simple route. These are the things that you want to focus on. How much can I get? Now, as a rule of thumb, we say we protect 60% of somebody's income. So typically, if somebody doesn't have disability insurance, our first reaction is to get an illustration or a quote. We go to Levinson, say, hey, I'm working on this case. Josh, can you help me with it? Josh puts together an illustration. We send it out to you, and you've got this 51-page illustration, and now you go to present it. And the first thing the client looks at is the premium. And we have a tendency to lose them then. And some reactions may be from an advisor's standpoint is, hey, don't worry, you can buy less. We can ratchet this thing down, whatever it is, we can make it affordable. The problem with that is that nobody, I don't know about you folks on the phone, but for me personally, I don't want to buy less of anything. I'll wait. So we put ourselves in a bad spot, right? By showing maximum benefit, all the bells and whistles, we throw it on the table, we hope that they buy. They've no experience of seeing this stuff in the past. So sales idea number 3 is don't start at the top of the hill. All that you want to do is a great example is when you call an illustration and maybe you talk to Josh and you say, hey, I need an illustration for this client. They don't have anything. Option number 1 is to show the maximum benefit they're eligible for because it's good to understand what that amount is. But option number 2, Josh, can you send me an illustration for $1,000 a month? Same plan design, 90-day to 65, $1,000 a month. I can guarantee you this, most of our clients can afford $1,000 a month. I guarantee you all of them can't afford $1,000 a month. And I want to start right there with the conversation. In the event that you were to become sick or hurt, how many of these units would you like to see come in each and every month? Now, they can do math in their own head. These are linear rates. It's not like life insurance where they're banded, at certain thresholds, the rates come down or whatever it is. But for disability insurance, they're linear rates. If you want, instead of 1,000, you want 2,000, just multiply it by 2 and you've got a rate. So it gives you a baseline to run off. You don't scare them with the premium. And more importantly, they make decisions on themselves of how much benefit they need. And again, we're trying to do 2 things with our clients. We're trying to protect income, number 1, but number 2, we're trying to also protect insurability. We want to get them a policy today, and then we don't want to have to ever arm wrestle with an underwriter again. Once we get them that policy, they're going to have these future purchase options on the policy that allow them to increase the benefit in the future without doing any medical underwriting. What a great tool that is. And I'll talk a little bit about that later too. But what a great asset you've given that client is protecting their insurability. We do it all the time on life insurance. We talk about it all the time. Get some term insurance. You can convert it later, protect your income. Buy life insurance on a young child because you're protecting their insurability. It's the same with income protection. Don't start at the top of the hill. Get them something. Protect their insurability, because what it allows you to do then is you've got a client, it's easier to go back and sell an existing client than it is to go find a new one. They're going to have these options that roll around. And let me tell you, all of our clients take advantage of those options. So that's my little sermon or sales idea number 3 is don't start at the top of the hill, show $1,000 a month and have that conversation. As far as when the benefit begins and how long it lasts, these are our deductibles. It's days instead of dollars. So typical elimination period for us in the white collar marketplace is a 90-day elimination period. Just understand that 90 days, they're self-insuring and the benefit would be paid. They begin to accrue on the 91st day and the benefit starts on the 120th day. It's good for a client to understand that. Obviously, the longer the elimination period, the less costly it is. The shorter it is, the more expensive. In our white collar space, 30 and 60-day rates are really expensive. I would stay in that 90-day range. It's most cost effective. As far as benefit periods are concerned, typically we're showing benefits to age 65. $1,000 a month, 90-day to 65 is a great plan design you can go present to your clients. Now, obviously we know with a 2 or a 5-year benefit period, it's going to be less expensive. That's an option for a client. But understand that 2 or 5-year benefit period is per incident. So it's not an aggregate benefit period. If I had a 5-year benefit period and I collected benefit for 3 years because I was out on a back claim, and now I go back to work, and I've been back to work for at least from a contractual standpoint, as long as I'm back to work for 6 months and a day full time, that clock starts all over again. I've got to satisfy the elimination period again, but I got a brand new 5 years. So if that back goes out again, no worries, I got 5 more years still coming. And obviously, all of these have an impact on cost, right? The longer the benefit period, the longer the elimination period, and so forth. Common objections that we hear from our clients each and every day. These are the 3 that I see most often. Bob, never going to happen to me. Cost too much, or I have something already through my employer I'm taking care of. I want to address each one of these. And that first one, it's never going to happen to me. I think we need to understand that disabilities happen around us each and every day. everybody knows somebody that's been sick or hurt, whether it's friends, relatives, family. It's interesting. Last night I was on the phone with a very good friend of mine, and his daughter, who's 31 years old, 3 kids, just found out she's got thyroid cancer. That's a tough spot, right? Nobody's expecting that in a young 31-year-old female. So again, we want to make sure that we've got something in place, because once something happens, it's too late. So the one thing I would tell you in regards to never going to happen to me is share stories. Let people understand that these things happen. And as far as the types of claims that we see, back claims, mental and nervous claims are probably the 2 biggest areas of claims that we see. They're the most subjective, but again, we pay benefits for those things. As far as the cost of disability insurance, we use as a rule of thumb that a disability contract can cost someone somewhere around 2 to 3% of somebody's income. So if I'm making $100,000 a year and I wanted to maximize my benefit, which 60% on $100,000 is $60,000 a year or $5,000 a month of benefit, that policy is going to cost me somewhere around $2,000 a year. Now, again, that's maximum benefit, all the bells and whistles, you name it on that contract. We can start anywhere less than that, right? We talked about this earlier. Don't start at the top of the hill, show $1,000 a month. Everybody can afford something. And $1,000 is meaningful too. You can't tell me that any of your clients if that was the only thing that they can afford, $1,000 a month, and they're flat on their back, and principal starts sending them a check for $1,000, you don't think they're going to cash that thing? Absolutely, they're going to cash that check. So one other point that I would make in regards to the cost of these plans is think of the cost if your clients don't do something, right? I could remember reading an article about how anyone can be a 401k millionaire. In a 401k millionaire, the only 3 things they talked about doing was number 1, starting early, be consistent, and number 3, never touch it. Number 3, never touch it. I think we have a tendency when things go wrong or things happen, I need to go into that thing, and now it's just devastated that plan or my ability to become a 401k millionaire. So if you think about it, for many of our clients that aren't exposed or don't get the opportunity to protect their income, because again, they're not thinking about this stuff. It's incumbent upon us to bring that conversation to them. And if they don't have a plan and something were to happen, they become sick or hurt, they still got to make the mortgage payment. They still got to take care of those kids. They still got to put food on the table. And for many people, the only place they've saved is those long-term vehicles, 401ks, IRAs, and things of that nature. So if you think about it, I'm faced with this illness now. I'm going to be out of work. I got bills to pay. I may go into my 401k and start taking some of that so I can meet these bills. What's the cost of that? I got to pay penalties on that. There's taxes required. And not only that, I've lost the compounding ability of that money and just decimated the whole purpose of that thing. Why do we do that? We don't want to have our clients in that position. And that's the conversation we want to have. So that was objection number 2 from the cost standpoint. Make sure that we, again, give them that opportunity. Don't start at the top of the hill, but also understand that there is a cost if you don't do something. This next objection I hear quite often is, Bob, I'm good. I'm taken care of. I was with an advisor out in Orlando about a year ago. It was actually prior to the pandemic. And I was visiting with him, and he had said to me, he goes, most of my clients, Bob, don't have a need for disability insurance. They're executives with Disney, and they all have disability benefits through Disney. I go, do you have any idea how those work? No idea. So his assumption was they were taken care of. So all that I'm saying is when a client has group disability insurance through their employer, take the time to educate that client in regards to how those benefits work. And it's not complicated. It really isn't. There's 6 pieces of information that you want to find out about that group disability plan. And this information is so readily available today because all of our employees have access to this stuff on the computer. And you want to get the summary plan description of that plan. And there's the 6 pieces of information are, like we talked about already, how much do they get, when does it start, and how long does it last? So a typical group plan may say you get 60% of your income. It'll start after 90 days. and the benefit will go to the age of 65. Wow, that's great. For many of our clients, that's a great plan. Now, the other three questions we want to ask, though, about that plan is, who pays for this thing? Do you pay for it, the employee, or does the employer provide it? Because that determines taxability of the benefits, right? What's the cap on that disability plan? And then how do they define the earnings? When they say 60% of earnings, what does that represent? Is it base income? Does it include my incentive compensation? So here's a classic example of a client that's making $75,000 a year who tells me they've got benefits through work. And the example that I want to share is that while you're healthy and working, $75,000 on a monthly basis is $6,250 a month. That client's going to pay taxes, and let's just assume a 30% tax bracket. So they're going to net $4,375 each and every month. And that money is used for all their obligations, bills, you name it, savings, fund. Now, in the event that they were to become sick or hurt, they got this great plan. And a client remembers 60%. I get 60% of my income. 60% of $6,250 is $3,750 a month. Pretty good. Now, for many of our clients, they didn't realize they've got to pay taxes on that benefit. They find that out at the time once they've been on claim. And that's not a good spot to be in. Now they're down to $2,600 a month. Now, we have clients that supplement their group plans with an individual policy. And in this case, we can bring that client back up to their net, almost 100% of their net take-home pay with additional $1,600 that they're eligible for. So why do our clients do this? Number one, I didn't realize my benefits was taxable. So I can replace a higher percentage of my income. Number two, in some cases, we have clients that bump up against a cap. In this case, we're not using this as an example, but if I made $200,000 a year and my group plan said it covers me from 60% of my income up to $5,000 a month, I'm not getting 60% of 200, right? Because that 5,000 I'm bumping into. So this allows them to supplement if they bump into a cap, especially with our highly compensated folks. Number three, incentive compensation may not be covered. A lot of times all they're covering is base salary, and clients don't know that. The biggest thing is portability, though. What happens when Joe leaves this company? He loses the group insurance. It's gone. But he's got this small little $1,600 policy that he can take with him. And the cool thing about that policy, we talked about this earlier, is there's a future purchase option on that policy. So if Joe leaves the company, he takes that $1,600 policy with him, and he says, hey, you know, Bill, I moved to this new company for some equity interest. I'm making more money, but we lost the disability benefits. And by the way, I've been diagnosed with diabetes or something along that line. No worries, Bill says. We got that policy for $1,600. I could ratchet it up to whatever you qualify for financially with no medical underwriting. Pretty powerful tool we've given that client. Now, there's one other point that I always like to make about this, this type of supplement sale. It creates a client. It gives you an opportunity for a future sale down the road. We're doing the right thing for our customer. But I think for many clients, they're sometimes faced with hidden expenses if they were to become sick or hurt that they have no idea is around the corner. And the biggest hidden expense that they face is health insurance. If they become sick or hurt, at some point in time, they're going to become an ex-employee at that company. And when that happens, they lose that health insurance. They can keep it under COBRA. But we all know that health insurance premium under COBRA does not get inexpensive. It gets real expensive. So if I'm down to $2,600 a month and now I got to pay a health insurance premium to maintain the health insurance, right? I don't want to lose that stuff. I'm sick or hurt now. That thing might cost me $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 a month. Ooh, that's not a good spot to be in. So again, those are some things that will take the time to educate your client in regards to why our clients supplement group insurance. In regards to the foundation of disability insurance, I think it's important to understand these contracts. Individual disability insurance, I think the greatest value of that contract is this non-cancelable guaranteed renewable feature. There's three types of contracts that we see in the marketplace: non-can guaranteed renewable, and condition renewable. The guaranteed renewable contract, that top right-hand corner, simply says that when a client buys that policy, the carrier says, as long as you pay the premium, you can continue to renew that policy all the way to the age of 65. We can never change it or take it away from you. Pretty cool contract. What happens if my health changes? Can you change the rates? Nope. What about my job? If I change my job, can you change the rates? Nope. What about if my income changes? What if I'm making a certain dollar amount and now it goes down? Can you change my benefit? Nope. The value of that contract is there's a lot of guarantees in it. If we go to the top left-hand corner, the difference between non-can and guaranteed renewable is the non-can guaranteed renewable product has a guaranteed rate. The premium is guaranteed to the age of 65, whereas guaranteed renewable, the rates can change if the carrier has loss ratios greater than they had expected, right? That's the only reason they could file for a rate increase. They go to the insurance commissioner, they say, hey, our loss ratios on this block of business, they can't pick on an individual, it's just a block, and they can raise those rates. So just understand that guaranteed renewable contracts are sold primarily in the blue collar marketplace. Non-can products are sold in the white collar marketplace. And again, guaranteed renewable is going to be a little less expensive because the carrier doesn't have to reserve as much because they can always go back for more if they need to, if they have higher loss ratios. Now, both of these contracts, I keep saying, are renewable to the age of 65. At the age of 65, they have the right to conditionally renew the policy. They can keep that coverage beyond age 65 for the rest of their life if they want, as long as they're working full time. That's the only requirement. The condition to renew it is that you're working at least 30 hours a week. So that's again, I always stress the value of that contract. Nobody can change it. Nobody can take it away from you regardless of your health, your job, or your income. You control that policy. There's nothing out there in the marketplace that allows them to do it. Group insurance contracts, association plans don't do that. Only an individual policy. Now, in regards to explaining types of how these clients collect benefits, it can be confusing, right? Don't go down this path, but it's good that we understand this because it gives us the confidence. And I just want to address these 4 claim scenarios. Anytime a client purchases a policy, there's 4 potential claim scenarios that they can collect benefit. And then at the bottom, you're going to see there's 2 primary types of definitions of disability that we see out there. A your occupation definition and an own occupation definition, okay? Now, the difference between those 2 definitions is about 20% at principal, 20% in rate. It's higher for an own occupation contract than it is for a your occupation. I'm going to first address these 4 types of claims: total, residual, and recovery. This represents about 95% of our claims. And I don't care which contract you have, UROC or ONOC, they're both paid the same. Total disability says if you can't perform the substantial material duties of your job, you get the benefit. So if I'm a dentist, I bought a policy, I become disabled, I file a claim, principal finds out I can no longer do my job, they start paying me benefit. Pretty easy one to understand. The next type of claim is a residual claim. Residual is important from the standpoint that we can have a restriction in our ability to work. We may still perform some of the duties and we suffer a loss of income. A classic example may be from the standpoint that a client is faced with an illness, right? It may start as a residual claim because they have these restrictions, treatments, they start losing income, and then it turns into a total claim. Or we may have a client that was involved in an accident, they're totally disabled, and then they slowly start coming back to work with some restrictions, also an opportunity for residual benefits. Recovery claims are said, if I've collected either a total or a residual claim, either one of those, and now I go back to work full time. My doc says I can go back to work. Bob, you're healthy, you're good to go. But I'm that dentist and I've been out of work for a year. It may take me a while to build my income back up. So recovery says that we will continue to pay a benefit as long as there's a loss of income of 20%. Pretty cool benefit. Now, total residual recovery, as I mentioned, both contracts, they all pay the exact same way. The only difference between these policies, if a client can't do their job and they go into a new job. And I'm going to use that example of a dentist. The dentist is totally disabled. He's collecting benefits from principal for 5 years because he's not working anywhere else. Under both contracts, he would do that. But at some point in time, let's just say the dentist decides, I'm going to go into a new field. I'm going to go do something different. The carrier's not going to make them do it. It's just their choice under either contract. And under your occupation definition, all that happens is the definition says, are you working anywhere else? Well, yeah, I took this new job. I'm going to a new field. And they're going to say, how much are you making? Well, this is what I'm making now. If it's half of what he was making, it continues as a residual benefit. So they repay him half of his benefit. Under an own occupation definition, though, and the reason why it's more expensive, it's the most liberal definition you can get. It's the strongest definition. They don't care if you go into another job. You're still going to get the full benefit. So if you go into another job and make as much as you were making before as a dentist, you still get your benefit. So we see that own occupation definition sold primarily in the medical marketplace, a lot with the attorneys. Just know that your OC definition is sold in a lot of other areas. It's a great contract. They're all paid the same. It's only if they go into a new field where you see this difference. In regards to getting a quote, I think it's important to understand that if you talk to Levinson and you tell them you got a client that's interested in this stuff, there's a number of things they're going to ask you about. Obviously, the client's name, date of birth, gender is important. Male, female, we have male or sex distinct rates, male and female rates. State of residence is important. We do have some geographical pricing. Smoking status, if you're smoking using nicotine, it's about a 25% surcharge. I'm going to get into some of this income, occupation, and then obviously we want to know if they have other coverages that may be in place. From an underwriting standpoint, you do want to pay attention to these three tiers: occupation, medical, and financial. From an occupational standpoint, we do want to find out what these folks do for a living, not just a title. We want to know about their duties, and some of the things that come into play is how long they've been doing it, the environment that they're in. As an example, an engineer that's sitting behind a desk is a lot different than an engineer that's out in the field, right, each and every day. Income can be important because that shows stability. This just gives you a rough idea in regards to the types of occupations where they fall. 6A is our best occupation class, and it goes down to an A. Attorneys, CPAs, engineers, corporate executives, those are our best rates. Best contracts, most liberal definitions, 5A, 4A, 3A, everything 3A and higher is what we refer to as our white collar marketplace. 2A and A is more the blue collar marketplace. From a medical underwriting standpoint, and this is what Bill was referencing also, we have a lot of folks that stay away from this stuff because they feel like they get, oh man, I got to go through underwriting. I think it's been easier today than it's ever been in our industry. We have a program called Simplified Underwriting. And first of all, Joe had mentioned this, Bill had mentioned this, you can get up to $10,000 a month non-medical limits, 18 to 50 years of age. But we also have Simplified Underwriting up to $6,000 a month, same 18 to 50. And the only difference between the two is there's no financial underwriting. We don't have to submit financial documentation when we use Simplified Underwriting. So up to $6,000 a month, no blood, no urine, no financial documentation. Pretty cool. If we have somebody that's applying for 10, we might not have to do medicals, but we may have to submit financials. Okay. But again, with an electronic application, simplified app, we're not chasing after APSs. You could turn that thing around pretty quickly, and it becomes a, how do you say, the margin on that product then for you? It's a pretty profitable piece of business to write. Some of the concerns that we see, I mentioned back in mental and nervous claims, it's probably the two biggest ones. Just ask some of those questions when you're talking to a client. Do a little field underwriting. And if they have or they are faced with it, I don't want you to waste time. We can do preliminaries. You can ask Josh or any of those guys at Levinson, and we can run it by an underwriter to get an idea what we would do from an underwriting standpoint. These are typical declines that we're going to see. Obviously, we write a lot of cases that may have a modification to it. Somebody that has a back problem, we're still going to issue a policy, but it'll have an exclusion maybe for their back. But again, they need to take that policy. They're covered for 17,000 other things that go wrong with them. It may not be the lower back, but a lot of times with these reconsideration or with these exclusions, we have the ability to reconsider them later. Our underwriters have the ability to utilize those plan designs to make offers. So in the case that we're faced with some adverse underwriting, they can change up the benefit periods or the elimination periods or what have you, reduce benefit amounts to make an offer on these cases. put an exclusion on a policy. And as I mentioned, these are some of the reconsiderations that we do see on a policy. Just know that if, as an example, a policy is issued with an exclusion, and we say you can reconsider this in 2 years, it is incumbent upon the advisor to bring that case back to us. Principal's not going to reach out to you and say, hey, it's been 2 years. So just make note of it in your calendar and just follow up. From a financial underwriting standpoint, again, simplified underwriting, you don't need to document, but anytime you do, typically we're going to need W-2, or if they're a business owner, first 2 pages of their 1040, something along that line. We are interested in protecting earned income, right? Not unearned income. And that net worth, if they're more than $10 million, probably not a good prospect for us. But I'm sure there's some other areas you can help them in regards to what you guys do. Patterns are important too in regards to income. Just ask some of those questions. If you do see some inconsistencies with income, just find out why. We may average those numbers. If it's a downward trend, we're going to take the most recent year. But we try to look for consistency because it shows a good stable risk for us. I'm going to wrap this thing up real quick, but thank you for your time. And I think it's important, as Bill had mentioned, it's a simple process or sale. All that you got to do is make yourself, give your client the opportunity to say yes. Set expectations up early. Keep it simple, right? Don't start at the top of the hill. Ask about that group insurance and make sure they understand those things. Here's one quick example in regards to why we want to sell this stuff too. Old Raymond here, we got a 35-year-old, and let's say he decides he's going to wait 10 years to buy this policy at the age of 45. At the age of 35, he's going to lock in a rate, right? A guaranteed premium is never going to change. He's going to lock in at a lower rate. He's going to maintain that policy for 30 years. All the way to the age of 65, he's going to pay $70,000 in premium. If he waits 10 years, he runs the risk of either becoming disabled or becoming uninsurable, or faced with some type of underwriting concern where they may issue a policy with a reconsideration. Now he only holds the policy for 20 years, and look, he's going to pay the same damn amount, a little more. So they're going to get the money out of you at some point in time. If you can buy this, especially our younger agents, clients, if you can buy this at a young age, you lock in that rate and you protect your insurability. They're great clients to have. They never get rid of this stuff. And one last thing in regards to compensation, as Bill had mentioned, it's the renewal stream that stays. Our average policy stays on the books for 15 years at Principal. That's outside of the medical marketplace. It's longer than that in the medical market. But you're getting comped on that thing all throughout that time. And the renewals can go as high as 15%. Plus, we have these bonuses that come into play. You can easily get to a 20% renewal on this block of business with $30,000 of premium written on an annual basis. So it doesn't take much to get there. Thank you again for your time. Bill, Joe, thank you so much. Any questions?
That was awesome. Great job. So we have a closed line because of the number of attendees, but use that question box and then we can circle back and get Bob on a call or even a future training, another webinar, whatever you all want to do, no problem, okay? And type in questions, comments. Joe's going to do his best to answer everyone real time. If not, we'll get back to you as soon as we hang up the webinar. Okay, so moving forward real quick, what I want Joe to do now is back up and show everyone where to go on our website to get appointed, to tap into all of our disability marketing resources for consumers, for yourself, DI education, and to start generating some new leads for free. So Joe's going to show you everything right now. Sit back, relax. Joe, you there?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So, of course, everyone will receive the thank you email this afternoon. A lot of great material. I just wanted to point out real quickly here on our website, underneath the product tab, you can go down and click on disability income, and you'll have access to every single product. You'll be able to click on that particular carrier and see all the resources, product guides, underwriting guides, all the prospecting material. And I kind of just showed a little bit of that on the bottom of the slide here, but we've got a lot of great sales material, phrases to use, way to kind of open the door, have that conversation with your clients about DI and kind of broaden your knowledge base. And even client pre-approach letters are listed here where you can actually go in, pull some of those pre-approach letters if you want to start reaching out to prospects or clients in the past that maybe you've worked with, but you weren't too familiar with DI, or maybe now you thought, hey, it's a great cross sales opportunity. That's a great place to go to access all those resources. As well as if you're appointed right now with Levinson, this afternoon you're going to receive the thank you email with all the details, including that bonus DI toolkit. That's going to have anything from fact finders to client presentations, even a complete DI sales guide, which literally walks you through the entire process, understanding underwriting, tips to close the sale, questions that your clients might ask, common objections that agents have faced in the past, to make sure that you're really in a great position to talk about DI and also the benefits of the product for the client. There's also a disability quote request, which you can see highlighted in blue here. So if you have a client in mind, or maybe after the webinar, you say, hey, I just wrote a term policy or UL policy, and hey, DI would be great for this client, you can go right underneath that website there, click on disability quote request, and actually enter in all of your information, all of your client details, and our marketing team will get back to you very, very quickly. That's something we're awesome at, is making sure if you submit that quote request, we're going to get back to you right away with all the best options, really explain what the best products are. Real quickly here, our DI carriers, I've kind of listed a little key here to show you which ones have e-applications, which ones are eligible to be paired with our scholarship platform. That's a huge selling point to help you above the competition and really kind of set yourself apart. So real quick here, we've got impaired risk DI. I just had a great question come through in the chat box where someone said, hey, my client had this medical issue a year or two ago. Maybe they might not qualify for a traditional DI product, but we have impaired risk graded, impaired risk up to $13,000 for a DI plan. So just because that client might have some medical issues, we've got some other options that they can use and take advantage of, whether it's a graded benefit or an immediate benefit. There are a lot of options to choose from. Then we move over to the blue collar DI. Illinois Mutual is one of our go-to carriers. Assurity Life, Mutual of Omaha, they've got really, really low elimination periods, which are especially important if you're working with that type of blue collar DI marketplace. And then of course, white collar DI Principal, who you just heard from Bob, really great product, great underwriting. Of course, Mass Mutual, Guardian are also a good option for white collar DI, depending on if it's a physician or orthodontist or an attorney. They've got some neat niches inside the product that'll help differentiate yourself. And then of course, our Insure Me Now Direct Sell While You Sleep platform, we do have availability with the SureBridge product line. That of course is client-driven e-app, so you can actually give the client your link. They can go right to your web portal, run their own quote, do their own e-application, and get covered. Very easy, very simple, a great, great product for DI. So really kind of encompassing anything from impaired risk, blue collar, white collar, and then client-driven platforms, all available through our top DI carriers. So one thing I do want to mention here, Bill talked about a platform we have that helps you uncover and kind of locate available prospects and clients. And so if DI is not your strong suit or maybe something you're looking to get into, of course, the question always comes up, well, how do I find the right clientele for this? Or what type of clients might be more interested in this type of plan? And so I think Bob did a great job of kind of explaining what to look for and what might be a good scenario. But I want to show you an awesome tool called Agency Automator. This is our CRM platform. It has two different databases that you can literally go into and actually put in some demographic information and criteria, and then drill down and actually get not just basic client information, but as far as phone number, email, physical address, all the information you need to actually be able to reach out to clients. So what I love about this when it comes to DI sales, there's a consumer database. It's got about 28 million records. So I can literally go in the system, plug in my zip code and say, I want to see clients within a 25-mile radius that have a $75,000 income or more. It will show me a list of all those clients, email address, name, phone number, even what their position is at their occupation, what city they're in. So all the information I need to be able to reach out and talk about DI sales. It also has a business prospect database, which is perfect if you're going after that business owner and maybe saying, hey, there needs to be some contingency plan, maybe overhead expense if something happens to you, to make sure that all the bills are paid and your business can continue to run. It fits in perfectly with this prospecting database. Not only can you reach out and call or email that client, but we've got about 2,000 different email templates that are built into Agency Automator that'll help you make that initial introduction. And we have specific DI templates that help you kind of explain what that DI product is and how it works and really get that conversation started. So I'll make sure to include a link in today's thank you email so you can access that program and start to really reach out to people that I think are going to be perfect candidates for the DI plan.
Okay, good stuff, Joe. We're just about done, by the way, and I hope you're getting ready for the question of the day, because if you're first, you win. Okay, real quick, I mentioned 3 other podcast episodes that the agencies or agents are focused on DI heavily, and all 3 of these groups were up, okay, anywhere from 30 to 100% during the pandemic. So they're doing something right. Okay, and this isn't just fluff. Okay, these are 1-hour, one-on-one interviews that you all need to check out. It's like when agents call and say, you know, Bill, I would love to speak to your top producer in the whole country and pick their brain for an hour. Okay, will they spend an hour with me? Can you give me their phone number? Now, obviously, I can't just give out our agents' phone numbers, but these episodes are built with that in mind. These are one-on-one interviews, tell it like it is, and share nuggets to our audience. So check them out. The left one, and you can see the screen in front of you. Those are some of the highlight reels. The left side and the right side, those were 2 of the latest ones that we did this year in 21, and we're going to include these in the thank you email. Also, we did another one back in 2020 with Wally. That's another great one. We'll include that one too, Joe. And these are 3 groups that are focused heavily on DI and actually LTC sales as well, some of them. So great nuggets for you all to learn and pivot, right? That's the name of the game, especially during a pandemic, right? It's a challenging time for everyone. Okay, moving forward, our second to last slide is our future training. This is what you're on right now. This is the weekly webinar series. And the one, actually, there's 3 that you all should, look at the bottom of the screen highlighted in blue. So tomorrow is our brand new $100,000 straight up guaranteed issue product with an immediate death benefit, very easy, instant decision, okay? And if you're working 20 hours or more, it's approved. So there's no decision, it's just approved. That's simple, okay? Be on that call tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then the following week, we're going over some unique product niches and new strategies, right, to supplement your income on the 20th. And then on the 22nd, we're going to go over the top hybrid life and living benefits platform, okay? Very innovative, and that's another great niche that you have to get your arms around. And again, you don't have to be a rocket scientist and know all the little details, but it's just knowing enough when you're on that call, right, that you can walk the walk and you know enough to be dangerous. That's it. That's what these trainings are built for. Okay, moving to the top of that slide, that is every single day of the week we host these webinar trainings, and it's an open forum, okay? And what that means, it gives you a chance to ask questions and hear other agents' questions to make sure that you're comfortable with all of our technology that we offer. Like Joe just went over the agency prospecting platform, okay? Well, we dive in every day, 2 p.m. Eastern. Kevin, our programmer, hosts the calls, so make sure you participate. We'll include the link in the thank you email. Let's move on to our last slide. Our favorite part of the day is our question of the day. So on the right side, that's our Positive Tuesday quote for this week. Living is not living until you do something for someone who can't repay you in any way, right? You have to give to live. That's the name of the game. That was actually my grandmother who recently passed away. So we'll dedicate this week to her. May she rest in peace. That's our mission statement, left side, and our question of the day. And I hope your little fingers are on the keyboard and you're ready to rock and roll. It's a 2-part question. Real quick. Number 1, principal, DI, which we just heard all about. Tell me their rating and their max issue amount for non-med. So the max monthly benefit amount for non-med. Tell me their rating and the max monthly disability benefit for non-medical underwriting. 2-part question. Joe, do we have a winner?
We do. Dwayne G. from New Hampshire.
Dwayne from New Hampshire. The answer is A+ rated, $10,000 monthly benefit max with no medical exam required. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great night, great selling, and thank you again for taking the time. Take care.